There we go. We should be live at any moment. Just give me a moment. All right, we'll just wait for the viewers to flood in. There we go. Yo, what's up guys? Welcome to the stream. Hope you guys are having a great day. Alright, now give me a moment. No matter why. Just give me a second. Let me just quick fix this real quick. Okay. This oh, now I know why. Boom. I had a display capture instead of game capture before I did start the stream. Just give me a second. CS:GO. There we go. We have the game up and running. Quickly transform, stretch the screen, and transition. Wait, there's me at the bottom of things. Transition. There we go, guys. All right, Assassin Best ESL India customer. Fuck, that is nice. Shit. That hurts, dude. That hurts. Come on. Man's already burnt here. Okay, that's even worse. But yeah, dude, give him some breathing room. Alright, so welcome to the series called ReDiscovery. For those who do not know, I had been suffering from RSI. I finally am at a point where I have, you can say, completely recovered. My pain is more or less dissipating. Day by day, I see an improvement. I hope the stream's set right. There we go. I'll just switch off NetGraph. So the entire concept behind ReDiscovery is for you guys to at least learn CS from another perspective. One thing I've realized after playing in many cafes all over India is people normally tend to learn it from the person they're more close to, and that shit keeps having a long chain effect. You only have a limited scope of learning CS. That's not true. There are a lot of ways you can learn CS. Me personally, I used to follow a lot of War Owl. I used to see a lot of pro matches. I've seen every single major live. So I definitely have, I'd say, a different way of looking at CS in general, but this is for at least widening your understanding of CS and you approaching CS from a different way. Yes, it might not be right to a large extent if given your philosophy of CS is completely opposed to mine, but CS is a game where there are multiple ways you can make a situation work. It depends on how well you can play the situation in your fashion. So the first, I'd say, 3 episodes or however long it will take will be on basic mechanics. Now by mechanics I mean pure mechanical I'd say skill involving CS:GO. No mind games whatsoever. It's gonna be jotted down to, I'd say, 3 steps. One is your aim. How you play around with your mouse. How do you find your sensitivity? How do you find an angle that is comfortable for you? The second is gonna be movement. How you can get into bunny hopping, strafing. Because some people in India are just not really interested in that aspect of movement, which I'd say is really necessary. Movement helps you to get to places faster. It gets to places where you can't usually get. It helps you to dodge bullets. It helps you to take ballsy peaks, and more importantly, it's easier to be a bait. It's easier to go in as the first man in, and during clutch situation, it tends to help you a lot as you're able to maneuver through the enemy and try individualizing the frags. Try getting a lot of individual 1v1s in which you can succeed. So we'll start off with aim here. We are on aimbots. It's a classic map. Everybody who has been playing CS for more than 100 hours will know this already. And personally, many pro players do grind on aimbots, but I see this as just a base. It's just a place where you can get your basics right. So let's start with aim, as that's our first aspect of mechanics. Aim in CSGO, unlike in other games, is not that vertical. It's only horizontally where you'll need to be looking. If you maintain your crosshair at a head level, it's only the horizontal movement that comes involved. You don't have anything else like maybe vertical aspect like you do in Overwatch. You don't have a lot of this. It's only Scream who does it, and he does it really good. So can't really say much about that. But it's more about how precise you are, how focused you are at your aim. When you see pro players, I'll give you a good example. Somebody like Scream, who's really focused at his aim. He'll come on top of every engagement, but it's easier to outplay Scream, outbrain him in that sense. So your aim can't be your forefront of the game. Yes, you might be really good with your aim, but you'll need to get around outplaying them as well, which we'll come back to in a later episode. Starting off with aim. Now, the basic thing with aim is you'll need to be comfortable. It doesn't depend on whose configuration you're playing on. It doesn't depend on what crosshair you have set to. It's all your comfort. Now let's start with comfort. For many people, when they play in maybe a cafe or something, it's gonna be, I hope this is coming fully on stream, this much of your hand will be on the table. So you're essentially having a hybrid between a full hand on your mouse pad and only your wrist. So let's go to wrist first. If you see the movement here, it's quite precise because it's the wrist. The wrist, unlike the arm, has a lower field of view in which you can move. For me, let's say I'm hypothetically at the leftmost clinch of my hand. If I move to the rightmost, it comes up to about Andy here. This is the FOV in which my wrist can move. Now for my arm, if I pull it to the right end of a mouse pad, I can go all around 180. But aiming purely with your full arm, it's not as precise as it is. Because again, this is meant for larger scope movements. So you can't really use this aspect of it to aim properly. Now, the players who generally have low sensitivity will keep their entire arm on their mouse pad. Players such as Nico, players who else plays on low sensitivity? 2TK comes to mind, Twists. So players with low sensitivity need their full arm on their mouse pad to inculcate both sides of the movement, both aspects of the movement. One for generally looking around, one for precision incision. So you'll need to go around maybe in a DM server to start off with. First aimbots, then DM, and then maybe a bit of KZ to ensure that your movement isn't hampered all that a lot. So that's why you should initially go towards. Now comes the wrist aspect of it. Some players with a relatively high sensitivity, a great one that comes to mind is Forest. Other than that, in the international scene, there are not many players who completely depend on their wrist. At least none that come up to my mind. In India, I'd say Rix does it a lot. Rix generally has, I guess, this much of his hand on the mouse pad. Marcel has his entire one. Antidote has his entire one. Yeah, other than Rix, I really can't name a lot. And if not wrong, Rix doesn't play in that high of a sensitivity neither. So yeah. Now, Voxic, yes, he's left-handed. I'm not really sure of Voxic's setting. All I know is he's the only left-handed pro I know of in esports in general. But yeah, good point there. Coming back to the point at hand, you'll need to play around these movements. So how you do it is first to train your wrist muscle memory. Make a point, let's get off here. Make a point on the wall, alright? Start flicking towards it. Start flicking towards it slowly. Get to a point where you're comfortable with your sensitivity, your arm position, everything involved. Okay, just stay completely still. See, one hand's off the keyboard. Stay completely still. Get into the gist of it. Just feel the movement. Just give me a second here. Just gotta fix something small. There we go. Quickly grab this. Sorry guys, this will just take 1 more minute. And if you are joining the stream, please do leave a thumbs up. A share would definitely help me in whatsoever way possible, on YouTube, on Facebook, depends on what rhymes your vibes. But yeah, so that's how wrist movement works. We'll get back how you can practice wrist movement properly. Arm movement, you just want to grab a good understanding of how far you can go. For example, I need to kill a guy there. First, I'll move all the way here, then I'll get the flick in. You need to micro correct. That's the important aspect of it. Go here, see how far you are from the enemy, micro correct immediately. And you have to practice it to such a level that all this happens in a subliminal level. You don't really need to think about this when you're actually playing a game, when you're in a clutch. Pros, when they do play, they're not in any tension whatsoever about their aim when it comes to clutch situation. Everything that runs through their mind is essentially, how do I outplay the opponents? Now that we have that aspect out of it, now that we have your sensitivity figured out, how you can maybe play around with your arm, find a comfortable seating position, it comes down to practice. So this is, I'd say, a step-by-step way where you can improve on all aspects of it, but slowly altogether. I'd say if you run this for about a week, you'd be good to go. So to start off, what you'd like to do is, you'd like to come to this map right here. I'll get the name out on the description, fast aim / refix training. What this essentially is bots running at you. All you need to do is, you need to prevent the bots from falling into an eternal pit of hell, and try to do it as much as you can. Get to about 100 frags. Just get your warm up in through this. This is just to make your wrist a little more comfortable. There's a small bug here where you can't join the CT side. MP. Shit, my keyboard's behind my monitor because that's how I like playing. You do want to switch on God mode on because they can jump across and knife you a couple of times, which will lead you to die. So we added a couple of T-side bots. Now what your goal here is, like even I just started the game not too long ago, but there we go, disconnected my mouse wireless now. So what your goal here is to do, not to allow any of the bots to go through. You need to try maintaining that line, and this allows you to get a good understanding of your mouse. It allows you to get a good understanding of how your arm aim works. You need to move around, you need to micro control everything, and you need to get the gist of it. And of course it'll come through time. It depends on how many bots you can play. I normally suggest either 100 or until the point where your arm starts to have that slow ache. So that would be the recommended amount, but you do need to give your arm occasional breaks. In between the practice, take about a minute off just to clench your hand so that it doesn't have any damage on it whatsoever. You do notice that I did let out a couple of bots which are not exactly in the focus right now. And again, it's all going to be your comfort. This is how you figure out what sensitivity you like. You need to try coming into aimbots, try coming into this map. You'll need to play around your settings, and once you do find the perfect sensitivity, you would not really need to rediscover yourself. For me, I really didn't give it much thought back in the day. I used to think, dude, I love this pro, let me just copy his settings. And I still used to do it until recently, where I understood that it has implications on my arm as well. I used to play on a really high sense, I switched to a really low sense, and I went to a medium sense, then I started playing high again, then I played low for a while. That's when the RSI slowly started kicking in. And you can practice this with multiple weapons. I prefer the AK just because the burst is really comfortable for me. The Deagle is a really good alternative as well if you want to practice your precise headshots. Fuck, why am I missing so many? And so it's all about comfort. You play this map until you get about 100 frags, till you're comfortable with your settings. You'll need to naturally get used to it over time. It takes a different amount of time for a different amount of people. So there's in technicality no prescribed amount of frags that you need to do. But again, it's always better to have a bar for yourself and try pushing the limits as much as you can. So you do some with the AK. Click towards the bottom for a rifle that you might want. The M4 is again a rifle that you do need to practice with. Many people do neglect practicing with the M4 on free-for-all servers, and it really comes to bite you on the ass when you are on the CT side. Again, the M4 doesn't have the one tap like the AK does, and in all honesty, the M4's recoil is much more controllable. So it makes sense for you to practice it, ensure it's down at the nail. Because again, most of the Indians fail miserably on their CT side with the lack of information, and in general the CT side of India has been weak in CS. Not really sure about 1.6 because again that was a game that I didn't really watch, although India did have a little bit of international representation. If I'm not wrong, I do know one of their players. What's his name? Virus. Yeah, I'm not really sure which team he played for, but yeah. So now that you will be done with I'd say 100 frags on each weapon, 50 on the op if you are an opper. I myself am a hybrid, but you do need to get that a little down to the nail. Now that you've gotten the gist of how your muscles work around with your settings, now comes where you need to have your aim down to the nail. This is for getting your aim snappy. Like you see a couple of highlights from Shroud, maybe Stewie with the Deagle. Their aim is ultra snappy, and there are ways now that you can develop it. As only in the past when we didn't have workshop maps, and workshop maps were virtually useless. Now they're becoming useful, and you'll be able to get to the same exact level by having some of these routines down to the nail. Quickly grab any weapon you're comfortable with. I grab myself an AK and a USB. Now preferably you'd like to start on the default settings. They're already a little easier, but we will go to more later on. When you start, you'll have buttons popped out of the frame in front of you. All you need to do is keep your crosshair in the middle, flick towards one of the buttons and land a shot. When you land a shot, the button gets clicked, you get a point on top. If you miss, shot fails, a point gets added here. And you need to play it in such a way that you are at least having, I'd say, an 80% or even a 90% accuracy, and your flicks actually land comfortably. It should not be you putting a lot of effort. Yes, it will take a lot of effort in the start, but given a day or two, it should just come naturally to you. So get onto level 4 if you want to start off a little easier. Yes, when you're in level 1, again, it's something that I generally don't prefer. Close range engagements aren't really something that I like. It blows me away. But level 4, it's the distance is a little more, it's comfortable for me to shoot at least. So let's get at it. And again, it's all about patience here. Take it slow, make sure every shot is precise. It just tends to build up your muscle memory. As you can see, I'm taking it really slow, really easy. There's no need to stress your arm already in the start. Get in the groove of things, get in the juices. Let's give it another try. I got 20 and I missed 5 shots, so my accuracy is not all that great. Again, because I'm a little impatient as it is by nature, this is my first 2 shots, following up, and the juices. Again, this is only the initial warm-up, so we'll have a lot more to cover on this map. So again, I missed 19. I hit 19 shots the last time. I hit 20. Keep going at it. Don't get demotivated. It's a learning process. You learn through your mistakes. So missed another one there. Hitting these, hitting that, hitting you, hitting him, hitting her. And again, it seems like simple stuff in the start, but this tends to help you a lot more than you think. Your aim subliminally gets better, and you'll get to a point where you won't even have to think of your aim. So now lower the static target duration to 0.50. Fucking go, there we go. Now we're up again at level 4, but this time the target stays for short amount of time. So essentially you'll need to flick faster. Now this is kicking it up a notch, but take your time, play with the settings, see how much time it takes for you to feel comfortable. Again, as you can see, I'm finding a little overwhelming in the start, but again, you'll get used to it in no time. So I hit 12 out of 15 this time, which is really bad, but again, I can do better. It'll just take you time, it'll just take you practice. All you need to do is be patient. There we go. This time I had 16, so it's eventually getting better. You see, it'll take you time, it'll take you practice, but keep having a go at it. See, there are a couple of angles that you're uncomfortable with. This will get you used to unorthodox angle as well. So when you're playing a new map, when you're playing on a goofy kind of retake situation, this always tends to help you. Damn. By the way, guys, if you are still watching, hi OG, talk about wrist aim versus arm aim. Jesus Christ. Yo.
Yo, where are you now?
I'm streaming.
At home?
Yeah.
It's you for 5:30.
Oh no, why?
Nothing, I needed someone to drop me to the service station. No one's there in my house.
I can't, bro. I'm streaming till 8 today.
Yeah.
Chill, bye.
Bye-bye.
And that was my neighbor. Nice. Hemant, are you still here? Or who else is watching? Because I have it open on my secondary monitor, so it's 2 unique users from what I'm doing. Yeah. So, 1 second. So, wrist aim versus arm aim. Okay, let's go at it again. So, again, when it comes to aim practice, that is one of the maps that I wanted to show you. The other would be Y-Crack Aimbot Arena, which is a nice alternative to aimbots. So again, wrist aim versus arm aim. Now again, you really shouldn't copy any professional that you see. You should always try to find which kind of aim comforts you, and you should grow at it. For example, like I said, one of the best operas in India, at least formally, is Rix. Rix used to use his wrist a lot. The way he actually played was, let's suppose that this is his mouse pad. His hand used to be like this. That's all. So when you do look at operas, you see Kenny S, you see Simple, you see JW using their entire mouse pad, whereas on the other hand, sometimes Forrest uses his wrist primarily, sometimes Rix, like I said, uses his wrist. So if you want to break things down, when you want to be really precise, you use your wrist aim. When you want to move across, you want to have a good FOV, you want to be able to swing around the map easily, you use your arm aim. It again comes down to your sensitivity, what sensitivity you're comfortable at. Let's say you're playing at a high sensitivity, you would be more comfortable having only your wrist on the mouse pad, or again, it's personal preference as well, depends on how you are going through it. But in general, the players with very low sensitivity like Nico, Twist, Stewie 2K, they use their entire arm. If you go see some of their what do you call that, not POVs, but camera perspective views on them while they're playing the game, they generally use their entire arm, and they're really proactive with how they move, both their arm and their in-game movement as well. So if you do want to get better at either one, what you actually have to do is, so let's say that there's a target here, alright? You need to understand first how wide you can move with your wrist alone. If I move my wrist to the leftmost possible end, let's keep it at about YPRAC C4's head. If I move it all the way to the right, I can move it till here. That's the max it can go. If I use only my wrist, so let's keep it at here, I can move maybe less than a 180. So this should be inculcated in your head in such a way that, suppose I want to hit him from here, I'll need to have that mechanical precision to first move my hand to a point closer to his head and then correct it. You micro correct using your wrist, you have your general movement jotted down by your hand. You move, correct. Fuck, I just press the D-pad button, there we go. You move, you correct. You move, you correct. Yeah, it takes a little bit of time to get things used to, but that's the general gist of things. Now, if you are just walking in for a nice game of competitive, for your, I'd say, a warm-up routine, you would typically want to come to this map, select maybe the Deagle alongside, let's take an AK for now. For the amount of bots, I usually put 100, and where's uneven surfaces? Fucking shut off your car, you retard. Where is uneven surfaces? Uneven, wait, I hope this is the one. Is this? There we go, this is the one. So before, do we need to train them separately or then combine them or train them together? Wrist and arm. What I'd suggest you to do is first get an understanding as to how you can get your wrist aim down to the wire. Then practice by, who the fuck is calling? Just a second. Yeah, mom, I'm streaming. Anything important? I can't hear her. Let me just call her back. Can't say no to my sweetie. Just give me a second,
Hi.
Yeah, what happened? I'm streaming.
Someone has touched the call.
Alright guys, this will take a moment. I'll just make sure my car is not fucked. There we go, guys. We are back. So, to get back to your question, Hemant, you need to learn them separately and inculcate them together. You learn them by understanding your sensitivity first, how much you need to move. Say, if you want to reach this part, you move this much, flick. So, yeah, it comes down to you being able to understand your sensitivity, and that only comes through comfort. Once you're able to put both into practice, it becomes far more easier. And the way you put it to practice is getting a good understanding of your sensitivity and your mouse. So let's get to a good warm-up routine before I want to close this. Where's resolve? There we go, default. Where is... Fuck, dude, I remember this. But models, general. Not uneven reflexes, random. Okay, do me a favor. Never seen this. Okay. This is a good test to how your wrist aim and your arm aim come into practice. You have random places that you need to flick to. Like, you normally don't expect to flick this much in CSGO, given that your aim revolves around your game sense. So this will help you get your mechanical aim down at the pin, but it needs to be consistently done if you need to maintain it on the long run. Like, you can see that I'm still a little rusty, and that's why I started the series, so that we can, while I'm getting back in my juices, I can try taking you through the steps that I went through previously to have decent mechanical aim. It has worn off a decent amount, but it's the journey back that counts. So did I answer your question correct, Hemant? How do you feel about the answer in general? Do you feel satisfied? Do you think there's something I missed over? Do you think there's something I got wrong? Got my answer, alright. Hope you're happy with it. How's things been with you, man? How's Jane treating you? Hectic cause every evening batch, morning work. Well, you did choose to stream in that way. Hopefully you do get the exposure you need to make that work. I know you have been working a lot, but again, to a person who looks at life in a different way, it seems unnecessary. But again, everybody has their own perspectives. Don't really give a shit if you get offended or not, but yeah. You're working hard, I hope you get paid off, buddy. Which company do you go to work though? Like, where do you have to travel? Is it near college? Is it near your home? Your father's fucking company that you work in? Indranagar, native creative for digital. I think we had an orientation to it as well. They approached me specifically, but I didn't pick it up because that's not something I'm interested in. And you typically prefer practicing with more than one weapon. I for one do like practicing this with an op. And again, it's all about you taking your time, all about you getting comfortable and getting in the groove of things, especially when it comes to an op. Like when you start off with the practice, don't attempt those Kenny-esque falling shots, like for example quick scope, huge flicks. Start off with the basics. Start off with at least getting every single kill, maintaining your crosshair at this torso level. And again, you'd like to maintain your crosshair at his torso level to ensure the kill. If he comes crouching in, you might just miss your shot, you might just go a little on top of the head. So it's always advisable as an AWPer to maintain your crosshair at the torso level. So start off with understanding how it's important for you to land every shot. Yes, you need flick shots to come in from occasional times where you're getting caught off guard. But for most good AWPers, most of their consistent shots comes from game sense and crosshair positioning. You never really have to constantly flick to get your kills. That's a mark of a really bad AWPer because he doesn't have the game sense. Yes, he's going to his mechanical comfort, but there are always the games where your mechanical comfort doesn't win you the rounds. It's your consistency as a great I wouldn't consider them a thinker, but great understanding of CS that wins you rounds. For example, Getright is nowhere near his prime. Even back in I'd say 17, when he was losing his charm, he was still able to make ridiculous plays just because of his game sense, trigger discipline, and other factors that he learned from 1.6. So, and even if you think of 1.6 as one of the best Counter-Strike games, you really got to give it to CSGO. They've inculcated mechanics from both 1.6 and CS They've inculcated mechanics of CS 1.6 and Source in such a beautiful fashion. For example, when you say 1.6, it's really strategic dependent. You don't really see so many aim fights being drawn out in 1.6 as you do in CSGO. But if you do follow Source history, you do see that a lot of it comes down to things like pop flashes. Existence was really notorious to finding those pixel pop flashes where you cannot really dodge them. You have to base it off timing and intuition. So CS Source, I'd say, is more geared towards aim, but it did require a decent amount of timing sense and positioning sense, not as much game sense, to be honest. So you just keep practicing this until you feel comfortable with the weapon. Start testing waters which are not really comfortable in. Quick flicks with the scope coming in time. And again, an AWP is a weapon where you will need to wield its power. You'll need to be able to get your movements in at the proper time. For example, all the best AWPers, let's take JW for example, JW, Fallen, Kenny-esque, they have really good movement, which allows them to take far more AWP duels than you would think. So movement is going to be a really interesting aspect of the AWP, and I will cover that in the next live stream. So now that I got this done with, let's move on to the next step. There we go. So now comes where you actually put what you learned into practice. So what you'd want to do typically is to join a free-for-all deathmatch server. Refresh also the list get clear. Right, which one has a decent amount of players with the decent amount of ping? 81, not really ideal. Let's just refresh once more. What happened to the LOT servers? There we go, LOTDM. So LOT is a decent deathmatch server. If you have VIP, you always have a slot. There are always 15 players on, so the action just never stops. You can keep practicing your mechanical skill as long as you want, as long as you're comfortable with. And again, DM is something you should not do a lot in initial phases. Yes, over a long run, you just like to maintain a small routine where you DM occasionally before you start a game, something along that lines, so you don't really go in with a cold arm. And talking about the arm practice is a must. I will share a video in, I will share a segment in towards the end where you can perform a couple of arm presses that will help you maximize your comfort. Again, all this came to me after I got RSI, so this is experience talking, so you won't have to suffer the same pain and fate that I did. And if you guys are genuinely enjoying the tidbits of knowledge that I am giving, do let me know on chat, because it's always good to have some motivation. Sometimes you just like to practice your one taps. So what you can do now is start off practicing your one taps. It might you know, lead you to die a little bit compared to Valve DM, but again, the goal of deathmatch is just to get you in your juices. Don't get frustrated, don't get angry, don't get impatient, and again, don't take anything else except for aim by DM. DM is in no way gonna help you get better game sense, get better anything else. It just helps you get your aim precise. But fuck that, because I was holding a closer angle. Took a little bit of time. Oh fuck, I fucked him in the face, didn't I? Again, just have fun with DM, don't really take a lot. Hey Badura, welcome to the stream. Hope you're having a great week yourself. By the way, how's the medication been treating you? You fully recovered yet? Yep, fully done. Come back incoming. Come back into casting or play? That's my big question. Both, buddy, you really gotta choose one, you know. You really can't do both. Initially I felt like I can do both as well, but you always half-ass your shit in both and you really won't be able to perform in either, which again is something that you don't really want to do. It's fine if you don't want to cast, buddy, no pressure on you whatsoever. Be a player, but be either one of them, but a dedicated one in that. That's my vibe. There's a reason why I legit don't want to be a player anymore. It's not that fun for me. Casting is where it's at. You gotta go to all the events. You gotta earn a fuck ton of money just by having a stable voice. It's not like my voice is going to be anytime soon. So you gotta live the esports life, but in a different aspect of it. Again, for talent, especially in the Indian region where it's slowly growing, there's a huge lack of talent in the country. which does need a lot of space to be filled. So again, it might mean working shitty tier 3, tier 2 events, but at the end of the day, you will be rewarded. I mean, you will be rewarded. Fucking knife, pussy, fuck. Knife, pussy, fuck.
अबे देखा नहीं मैंने.
So now that you're done practicing to tap, you like to get into your spray. Regardless how far or close your enemy is, just start the spray. Get a feel of the spray. Now that's important. You can't learn spray. So I was actually going to take you into Recoil Master, but again, that's a matter that everybody knows. What they don't know is how do they inculcate what they learn in Recoil Master to the game. How you do it is actually spraying. So again, at that range, you could spray. At a long range, you should tap. But I'm trying either for the fuck of it, because you need to get the vibe of getting the spray in. It again, if you do look at it from a scientific aspect, it's only the pixel in the screen that becomes bigger. On the long range as well, it's the same mouse area you need. The same area you pull down, the same area you swing side by side, it's used regardless of what range it is. Again, there I flunked my spray because I went a little bit too much to the left. Now here, I haven't, but I did expel a lot of bullets in the process. So yeah, just get a good amount of hours in this. Spraying is something that you see even the pros fuck up from time to time. See, I sprayed even though there's only a pixel visible from my perspective. That's how big his dick is. Woo! Just kidding. Fucking, why did I make that joke? Ha! And you always would like to fuck around with your opponent. Knife that faggot. And I get killed. So once you feel a little more comfortable with the AK, that's if you want to be a second primary operator now, there are players who are really good with the rifles, such as Elige comes to mind. Nitro before he became the opper. Simple, let alone with the AK can wreak havoc. At one point he was both the best rifler and the best AWP player in America. That's when he first came into Team Liquid back in 2015's end, 2015's and 2016's start, one of the two. So it depends on what kind of player you are and what kind of player you want to be. Personally, I love the AWP. It's one of my favorite weapons, and the one who can wield an AWP really good can really win a situation in can really win any clutch regardless of situation. Let it be range, let it be versatility, is something that an AWPer is gifted. That is if the AWPer is gifted in skill. Now what we did practice prior, you'd want to slow down. Take your initial shots with a pinch of salt. No real reason to rush. Get in your juices, understand how the AWP works. The best way you can learn to AWP is start off passive AWPing. Don't go for aggressive peaks, hold angles, get players by their angles, and then you go to aggressive peaks once you're more comfortable getting those shots in, once you're more comfortable with the flicks. And this applies regardless of how much you do practice in aimbot. It's just the way the AWP is and how you practice to be an AWPer. And again, you can see me being a little impatient with the scope. But again, I highly encourage you to do it at a pace that you're comfortable with. There is nothing that is constant, given that this is a very personal game. You need to find your personality and then meld it into the settings of the game.
और लैग भी हो रहा है थोड़ा.
The server is a little laggy though. It's not my mouse or the stream, so why the fuck is it lagging so much? Are you guys lagging as well? Time I got fucked.
Shoot, yeah.
कैसा स्पॉन है बहुत गंदे सा स्पॉन है भाई साहब पीछे
Oh, hey, what's up, JK?
ये जगह बहुत मार रहे हो यहाँ पे कुछ भी नहीं हो रहा है
Why? How? Finally.
सचमुच का उसको ले आया क्या तो सचमुच का रोहित मेरा ही
लाल
So again, this is a routine that I would suggest you to do about 7 days or 8 days on end.
यहाँ कोई
By
हमें
day 9
अच्छे
you'll
player
be
लेकिन
seeing
इसी server पे
consistent
आते हैं ना।
results.
मेरे सारे दोस्त मुझसे आगे निकले
So you also leave me there.
जैसे अहमद तेरासू को देखो अच्छा प्लेयर है हम लोग को क्या खेलना चाहिए प्रैक्टिस के लिए वो कोई और सर्वर पे आएगा मैं वहीं पे जाऊँगा ना 4 प्लेयर्स के साथ खेलने का है तो सर्वर्स पे डेथ मैच में मारेगा
I
क्या
hope you guys are understanding the gist of what I'm saying.
ओह डिलीटेड
You went through me, head. What the fuck?
मैं मारने तो दे मेरे को मिक्की
कुछ भी
It happens, buddy. It happens.
आइला इवन जाएगा मारूंगा ही मेरे लिए
नीचे भाई बीच में स्पॉन हो रहा है
कुछ
क्या
नहीं।
ये
As soon as you're more comfortable hitting the normal shots, you'd want to start kicking it up a notch. Start forcing yourself into fights. Start putting yourself into a flick situation. That way, at least when you are put in an uncomfortable situation, you will have
मैं पंगी चमार
a good chance of perhaps winning a fight. Again, my flick didn't land because I was moving a little bit. That one I free in because it's a little too far away. Not a flick essentially, this was a flick. So it's all about getting comfortable with your settings and whatnot. Hit that shot. One guy up close. Oh fuck you, man! You got fucked in the face, Shakri. Fucking Bakri. But yeah, that aside, you know, sometimes you do let your inner juices flow. That's fine. Tag him through the wall there. Can see anybody in through connector, holding through CT, CT is clear, pushing in through triple, getting a kill on the shield, falling back as well, jumping through CT, and again, movement is a really important aspect of the open. He got fucked, that's great. One guy through A ramp, he got fucked as well.
मैं लैग हो गया गोली चली
Didn't land my flick there, gonna keep myself into an uncomfortable angle, when you're close you need to land the flicks, I did that time around.
fucking
So
bitch
again, it's a cycle of the scope. If you want to put it in a romantic
क्या रहा
sense.
है बे हाँ लाओ सर्वर कर
And if you guys are understanding and genuinely you know, getting what I'm saying, I do appreciate a comment, you acknowledging it. So at
SEO
least
ने मारा है
I'll
सब।
know if I need to explain something again.
उनको लॉस से क्या लेंगे
एसजी का लगता है शॉट लैग में
वही ना कुछ भी मारो
After this, we will be playing some Face It, where tomorrow I'll discuss
oh my god
maybe
VIP
movement.
कुछ भी fucking deleted
And movement there is fuck. Can I hit a quick scope? Quick scope, please, quick scope.
not equal to need मतलब
Echo? What's an echo? Show the wall. Can't let him up close and personal though.
भाई कार बीच में स्पॉन दे रहा है पहले से.
अबे चम
So now that we got this figured out, now what you need to do is try inculcating all of this into the game. How you can do that is, one, through actually playing the game, maybe a face-it game, a game on So Strong, or play on retake. Now personally I do encourage you to move away from retake. It brings in a wrong idea of the game in you. You'll always be encouraged to go in for fights, go in for peaks. You won't get the overall perspective of the game. You won't understand the philosophy of the game. But that's just my opinion. Executes are decent because you always will have to be on sharp of your brain. But I do encourage you to refrain from at least retakes. That's like the minimum. I used to play a lot of retake. I did it all throughout my career as a kid, and I'm not going all the way fucking down again. Whichever kid did that can go suck a dick, in no pedophilic way. So now I am gonna start a game. And for those who are relatively new to the game, I encourage you to start matchmaking first, and only when you feel like you've reached a decent skill set, when you think you... Okay, so I really don't want to put this down to rank, but when you think you have a good understanding of the game, your mechanics are decent, not the best, but decent, you can move on to face it and try taking it up a notch from there. We just invite anybody who's online, regardless who joins. It's not a problem. And I am gonna start my search. And before you do want to start off with an actual game, you like to give a small break for yourself, a small break for your hand, to give it a little relaxation. You don't want to develop RSI just like I did. You want to be relaxed. You want to stay focused. And more importantly, you want your arm to work on the longer run. Because again, this is not only for the casual player, but the more competitive ones as well. So let's just get back in the CSGO. Right, does seem like we have a pretty nice game at our hands at level 8. Couple of level 7s, but again, ranks can be deceiving, so... And for those who do not follow me on Instagram, follow me on Instagram by the way, at OGTheLowRezChicken. 1 second. Tell me if you're playing. I got This Beauty. If you don't know what This Beauty is, it's a ballad song, otherwise known as, for any CSGO lover, a butterfly knife. So let me just take this away from the monitor because I don't want to pay for a new one. So pretty nice. Love the... used to have one of this back in the day. There we go. Game ready. It does seem like we are playing Inferno. Not really the best of maps, but fuck it. Let's go. Okay, Inferno is something I hate personally. It's just due to the fact that there's so much fucking Inferno in the Indian scene. Regardless which Indian team you see, they'll always play Inferno. And yeah, didn't really get the... Hope OBS hasn't fucked it up in any way. There's a lot of stress. Shit. Just check on my phone if I did go offline. Okay, it didn't. It's just not responding here though. Now what has happened to my PC? Fuck! Steam just hung. And process, I suppose. Not really sure how the stream would react to this. Come on. Ah, my computer is a fucking potato. Keep spamming my mouse. Waiting is a new job. Shit. Alright, let me do one thing then. If this is not getting fixed, I'm gonna run a part 2 now. I'll just quickly restart my PC. Launch CSGO. If I do get a cooldown on Faceit, then fuck it. Let's be so strong.